no direct.
Good evening and welcome to the Town of Rockland Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Please stand and join us in a salute to the flag. Chief Warren, can you start us off? Chief Warren, can you start us off?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded for playback by WRPS at www.youtube.com/WRPS-Rockland. Please go to www.wrpsrockland.com for further information. First on the agenda, community announcements, Rockland Day sponsor recognition. John Lucas.
If you don't mind, Mike, I'm going to stand up.
By all means, John.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that participated in any way in this. The Board of Selectmen, the Police Department, the Fire Department, the Highway Department, the Parks Department. They were all extremely helpful in ideas and support. Particularly, I'd like to thank Tiffany Needham and Doug Lapp and Lori Childs for their participation in the dunk tank. I may have put a little pressure on them to do it, but
I didn't know I had a choice.
well, now that you've done it once, next year will be even better. There was a lot of fun on that. We raised a pretty fair amount of money on the dunk tank alone, and there was a lot of laughs, and I think everybody really enjoyed it. I'd also like to thank my committee, and I'm not going to try to name them all because I know I'll forget somebody, and I don't want to do that. But I have about 12 people on the committee that put in a lot of time at meetings and chasing down various functions that we had, and I think it was a pretty good time, and I could not have done it without their help. All I did was point at different directions and say, please do that, and they took care of it. I would like at this point, if it's up with you, Mike, to recognize the top dog sponsors that we had. Each one of these sponsors paid or submitted a $5,000 check to us, and that went a long way. As you can imagine, the expense for this operation is not nothing. It was all paid for by these sponsors, and by means these are not the only ones, but I'm going to read off the names, and it's all in alphabetical order, so I'm not favoring one or the other.
So when you just read off your name, if you want to just come up, and I'll present you with a certificate of appreciation.
A.W. Perry, Susan O'Day, and Mark Flannery. Thank you. Canavana, Mario Ciccarello.
us out.
Mr. Lucas? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Duncan Texera. I think it's Frank is here tonight. And if I've mutilated your name, I am sorry. Hyman Golf, Greg Simon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rockland Federal Credit Union, Megan Rooney. Thank you. And Tascon Corporation, John Tassinari. Thank you, John. Our next level of sponsors, and they're not here tonight, I don't believe anyways, they all contributed $1,500 or better. Amos Phelps, Coastal Nissan, Highway Auto Body, South Shore Taekwondo, Sullivan Funeral Home, and Sullivan Tire. And there are many, many others that contributed to this to make it go. If you were there, I hope you enjoyed yourself. And if you didn't, try to plan next year, because we've got some ideas to make it bigger and better next year. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I'll just take a second, open up to any comments or questions from any members of the board for any of the sponsors.
I'll start by saying thank you to everyone who made Rockland Day a success, especially our community partners who are here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
I would also like to chime in. Thank you very much to the sponsors. Without your help, we couldn't have done it. And thank you very much to the volunteers. We had 2 very ambitious, vigorous days of amazing entertainment activities, fun for all ages, and you had a small but very talented, very dedicated committee, and they were there throughout the whole entire time. My family went and enjoyed both days, and as did so many wonderful families, and that's what Rockland's all about. So I wanted to thank you, John, and your committee, and of course all the sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
I'd also like to thank anyone who contributed time or money. Rockland Day has become quite the event every year. I'd also like to thank my cohort in crime here and Mr. Lapp for taking the plunge for us. I think that Rockland Day is great. Unfortunately, I was out of town, so I could not attend, but I have been there in the past, and I think it's a great tradition that was started, and you do a great job continuing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I just want to reiterate what everybody said and what John Lucas said. You know, we can't do it without the sponsorship, and I understand it's not lost on any of us up here that, you know, with inflation the way it is, that times are tough, and you know, things cost a lot more than they did a year ago, and it just makes it even more special and appreciative on our part that you guys were able to contribute what you did to make that day happen for the community. So with that, like John said, I'm sure he'll reach out to you guys again next year. Now that he has your number, you know, you can probably block his if you want, but you know, for this year, we appreciate all you guys have done for us. So thank you very much for your community partnerships. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda. And by no means does anybody have to stay any longer than they have to, so we won't be offended. Next on the agenda, review and approval of minutes of June 7, 2022.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Donna is abstaining because she was not here. So all those in favor, Selectman Nyman,
Yes.
Selectman Needham,
Yes.
and myself, that's unanimous. Okay, we're going to move the agenda around just a little bit. We have some stuff that we want to cover on the FY23 budget update. So with that, Doug?
Thanks, Mike. And I appreciate you taking this out of order. As the board recalls, when we were developing the FY23 budget, we followed our standard practice, which is to get budget requests from each department head. And at that time last fall, the police chief did put in his budget request to hire an additional school resource officer. But as everyone knows, all of the requests, greatly exceed the amount of available funding that we had. So throughout the budget process, we talked about that. I consulted with Dr. Cron and his team, and we all value the role that the SRO plays that we currently have in place. And we did see the need long-term to get a second SRO. But based on the different priorities that we all felt were most important at the time we were developing the budget, we agreed to put that off until the following year, FY24. The chief and I had a lot of spirited conversations about it. He really felt strongly that it was warranted now, but ultimately that's how things shook out. We talked about it here at this table in this meeting. Dr. Cron was at a finance committee meeting where we spoke about that as well with the FinCom. There would be something that would be more of a priority in FY24. So it's not in the budget for FY23 discreetly as its own line item. However, since that time, we're all aware of the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, as well as some other mass shootings in other parts of the country. And so recently, Dr. Cron reached out to me and asked to meet with myself and the police chief to revisit that decision, revisit these priorities. And the three of us met last week, and we all concluded it was really in the best interest of the town to try to push forward and hire an additional SRO now meaning for FY23. So, of course, my first question was, well, how are we going to pay for this? Because it's not spelled out in the budget. And the understanding we have is that this cost, we think we can make it happen pending your approval. And it would be funded from the existing appropriations that we voted at town meeting. So half of it would come from the school budget. The other half would come out of the police department budget. And the only reason that they're able to accommodate that amount is because Chief Llewellyn is retiring in September. As you all know, there's a process in place now for hiring a new chief. We started internally only. We have excellent internal candidates, so I believe we will be successful in hiring someone internally. So that ripple effect of promotions is going to leave a vacancy in the police department, most likely for several months, that can cover the police department's half of that cost for FY23. Going forward in FY24, we'll have to build that into the budget because we will need to backfill that vacant position. So that's just some of the background, but the chief and Dr. Cron are here, and I think it's important that we hear from them directly on this because this is an unusual request, but we're in unusual times, so I think it's important to hear from them directly. So,
Dr. Cron, by all means.
Take the hot seat. Want to pull up a chair? Sure.
Look at this picture.
So I don't know that there's much to say. I think we've all seen the news. We're all living during this time. My sense is that the school community would benefit from a second school resource officer. So we'll come up with the half from our budget, and it seems like the chief has a plan for coming up with the other half. The last thing we want to do is make anyone feel unsafe, but at the same time, taking every step that we possibly can to make sure that our schools are safe. We have nearly 3,000 people a day in our school buildings each day. It's the most populated area in this town on a regular basis. Having a second school resource officer would give us additional communication skills, additional reaction skills should anything catastrophic happen. That said, I feel that we have an amazing safety plan in place. We have a great relationship with the police department, the fire department. We meet on a regular basis. We tabletop all kinds of scenarios. We are prepared for nuclear situations. We are prepared for active shooter situations. We train for it. And I just feel that this will help make us additionally safe.
Chief?
As you all know, I've been a proponent of this for years now to come. So unfortunately, Uvalde put it back at the front of the table again. And listen, we can go out there and you can commission a study that's going to suggest that school resource officers are a bad idea. You can commission a study that's going to say school resource officers are a great idea. Truthfully, practically speaking, you have the two heads of these organizations sitting before you tonight suggesting and asking that you approve the request that we go ahead and move and have that second SRO. And I think it's important to note that not only having a police officer in the school is going to make them feel safer. But as I'm sure the doctor will say, our police officers in school are not there to enforce laws in any way whatsoever. We're there to be the big brother or big sister in the school and to basically show these kids that the police are approachable. They are your friend. They are here to help. And I can't think of a time in the last few years where an arrest has been made inside the school by the school resource officer. That is not his job. It's to be there, work with the doctor, his curriculum, and his staff. So that's what we intend to do. And again, a number of parents have come to me the day after Uvalde. We had a number of officers around outside the schools, and they were very reassured by that. And we want to continue to put that forward.
Thank you, guys. I think one of the things, I always try to tell myself, I don't like to be reactionary, but in this case, when you're dealing with the safety of our students, there's no such thing. So whatever preventative maintenance measures we can put into place to continue to keep our kids safe, I think it's an important thing to do. So it was one of literally the last things that didn't make the budget for this year, and I applaud both of you guys for digging down and finding the room to create some space in the budget, because I think it's definitely a priority for the town and like I said, for our students. The thing I love about it is that Officer Schnaple is out every morning outside the school greeting the kids. They all know his name. They all approach him. They're all friendly with him. They get along with him. They're not intimidated by him. They see him as a friend and somebody that they can go to. And I think kids these days, they don't necessarily have that, especially the ones that don't have that structure at home. And I guess I equate it to, the police officers walking the beat, and when they walk in the hallways, if they're in the hallway at all, they're walking the beat. They're getting to know the kids and they're getting to know the police officers, and they're not looking at the police officers as an enemy or somebody that's watching them. They're looking at somebody they can go to. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm all for it. So if anybody has any comments or questions?
I think it's a no-brainer. Safety of our kids is a top priority, I think, for this board as well as, the town as a whole, so.
I want to be right up front as well. I mean, this is not, you say yes, we flip a switch, I have an
Sure.
SRO on September 1st. This is a process of finding, selecting, getting them to a school, which is most likely going to be, believe it or not, out in Utah or Colorado or somewhere for a week, so we can get them trained up and get them ready. At the same time, we're having a hard time just hiring police officers right now, so we're going to have to backfill that position. So once this, I hope, gets approved tonight, the doctor and I will work together to make that happen. It's a top priority for me, and I know it is for him as well, so it just doesn't happen like that, unfortunately.
No, what are the qualifications that you guys are looking for specifically for a SRO officer?
So we put it out once before, and ideally, as I've always said, Ethan Schnabel is the round peg in the round hole. We couldn't have a better SRO at the middle and high school level. We're looking for somebody that's going to fit in with the elementary school to be ideal. Somebody that has taught with the kids before, worked with the kids before, maybe has kids. It's going to be a vetting process for me first, and then I will send him up to the doctor to make sure that that's who he would want in the school as well. Once we approve it, we'll enroll that person in a 1-week-long school, which will basically give them guidance as to how to counsel and be with the kids, and then real world, get them out there.
Yeah, I'm thankful that this is moving forward. I think that this is what the community needs, and I also, I admire your two departments coming together to help make us make this happen. It's all about community, it's all about keeping our kids safe, so thank you.
So this would be a new position. It wouldn't be taking from your existing force.
Unfortunately, right now, it's the only way we can do it, is take it from the existing force.
Okay.
Police reform, so-called, has eliminated all of my part-time officers, so now I'm going to have to go to a list of officers or candidates that I have no experience with. So that's going to take the process longer. With myself leaving, maybe a couple other vacancies coming up, we'll be looking to hire in the police department probably 4 or 5 officers within the next year. So, and that's not new positions. That's just backfilling people that are leaving or moving up and out. So.
Mike, could I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I talked to Lori Childs, who's unable to be here tonight, just to get her comments, and she just asked that I kind of put out a couple of questions she had, which are probably more geared toward the chief. She was asking about the types of training that the person, the candidate would get as it relates to, ensuring there's no discrimination against students of color or other minorities, and types of mental health training that SROs get. So I'm sure the chief can speak to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get it quick enough, but I did look at the schools where they were located and what they teach, and a lot of it is dealing with emotionally, troubled children, how to counsel and deal with them, how to take the law out of the school. So we don't want that person being in the school making arrests, especially at the elementary level and stuff. We want them to be a counselor. So it's a 40-hour school, and it's a pass-fail. If they don't pass come Friday afternoon, they don't get the certificate, they can't be an SRO. And that's only the initial school. After that, we will continue to funnel them in to other schools as Ethan has gone over his, number of years that he's been the SRO. So I really want people to think about it not as a law enforcement officer in the school. It's a police officer acting as a mentor, a guidance counselor, or whatever else they can do to help the children, not looking to make an arrest.
And not to contradict the chief, but as the education side of this equation, the fact is the police are a paramilitary organization. The fact is we have 3,000 people, lives in our buildings every day. So our relationship, having an additional police officer is important, but what's most important are the relationships that come from that police officer. That's what truly keeps us safe in the schools, is relationships. Not having people at every door all the time, every day. We're an open society, we're very susceptible. But having yet another person who can build relationships the way Ethan has, build relationships with the staff, with the teachers, with the families, that's what keeps us safe, in my opinion.
So right off the NASRO website, it's developed a triad concept of school-based policing. It divides the school resource officer responsibilities into 3 areas: teacher, informal counselor, and then law enforcement officer. So again, it's not just, but again, of course, a law enforcement officer with a firearm on this will hopefully be able to end a situation. And I think, unfortunately, it came out of Uvalde, but they said it best down there. If that officer is not willing to put the safety of the children and others in front of their own safety, then they're in the wrong profession. And we wouldn't select somebody that was not ready to do that, so.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion. Not that it's necessarily needed, but maybe a consensus. Kara? Any thoughts? Are you in favor?
Yeah.
Tiffany?
Second.
Connor?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, myself. So the consensus is by all means, guys.
Thank you.
Please.
And
All right.
and on behalf of Dan Biggins and the school committee, we appreciate that very much. Appreciate your support,
Thanks,
partnership.
guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mike, before we go on, is it warm in here? Is it just me?
Yeah.
I need to put one of the AC.
Oh, yeah,
units
that's fine.
on?
Okay. Next on the agenda, we're going to go into a public hearing for the Farmers Brewery pouring permit. Public hearing for Article 15, 406 VFW Drive. I'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing?
I have a motion to open. I have a second.
Second.
Second. Second Nani.
Yes.
Second Neal.
Yes.
Second Chordo.
Yes.
And myself. Okay, public hearing is now open. Okay. So, for Article 15, welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
So what are we looking to do?
Looking to resend out our abutters list and be, yet again, I guess, approved to receive our pouring license.
So for the audience at home, the Farmer Brewery license authorizes the following licensee to manufacture and brew, keep, and expose for sale and sell in kegs, casks, barrels, bottles, and other containers, malt containing no more than 12% alcohol by weight. Any Any questions or comments from any members of the audience in regards to this license? John?
Good evening again.
Come on up.
I would have to say that Article 15 Brewery Company is leasing that building from my company. And they're a veteran-owned company. The founder of the brewery is a Rockland resident. He lives here in town. He's very committed to the brewery. These guys have really stuck with it for over the last year to try to get to where they are through zoning, planning, and all the different departments, and have complied every single way they possibly could under what they were requested to do. And I feel that they'd be a great addition to our community. They're just a local business that wants to do the right thing, and I just felt that I should say that they're really great guys. They're going to do a great job for the town. They're welcoming to everybody, and I think that was important to be said. So thank you for your consideration for these guys. That's all.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? Pam?
I just, nothing to do with anything, but I could hear Mr. Casimir, but we can't hear anybody else.
Yeah, so it might be there.
Thanks.
Do you have any room in the budget to fix that? Next year?
There you go.
All right.
Take a PhD.
So we opened the public hearing. Mr. Tassinari just spoke in favor of Article 15 brewing. Anybody have any further comments in regards to Article 15 brewing? Okay, not seeing any comment. I'll entertain a motion to...
There's
oh,
one.
Mr. Marshall?
George Anderson, 355 Forest Street. I don't have a pro or con about this. I just want to know exactly what's going to happen down there, Leo. It's just a
Larry,
brewery.
sorry, Larry.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah. I just want to know what's going to happen, that's all. It's just a brewery, or is it going to be
So it is a brewery and tap room, right? So
all
a large-
inside?
All inside. There will be an outdoor patio, but that will be limited to the hours that will be open. And just as we've always said, if there's any issues, because I believe you're just right directly behind us, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We welcome you to come over and have a dialogue with us. I don't know if you drink beer, but that's where we would like to sit down with you and have and discuss it all, because we just really want to be members of the area and enjoy each other's company. Is our
All I want to
goal.
know is there's not going to be anything wild outside or anything.
I don't do wild.
You're keeping
I'm
it
a
inside,
20-year
and that's
retired
it.
Army veteran.
That's
I don't
the
do
only
wild
thing I'm
anymore.
concerned with. That's it.
Yep.
I said, other than that, no, I have no problem with it.
Great.
No.
Look forward to seeing you.
It's fun.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anybody else? Okay, not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion to close.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor? Selectman Shortall?
Yes.
Selectman Needham?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Nyman?
Yes.
And myself. Public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain any comments, questions from the board.
I don't have any questions. I think we met a few weeks ago. And
I think
Already-
we met on
Seems like
Saturday
the-
as well.
yeah, it seems like everything's in order, so.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion to approve,
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Motion to approve
A
the
motion to
pouring
approve.
permit.
and I have a second. All those in favor? Selectman Nyman?
Yes.
Selectman Shortall?
Yes.
Selectman Needham?
Yes.
And myself. Unanimous. Thank you,
you very
guys.
much.
Thanks again.
Mike, can I make a quick comment?
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that the applicant,
Just great to go.
I just wanted to make sure that the applicant understands that the next step is that the board's approved it, so you're all set locally, but it goes to the ABCC, the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Correct.
So they need to approve it before you're actually open for business.
Correct.
So just wanted to say that for the public, because sometimes people think that this approval is the final approval, but it still has to go to the state. So I wish you good luck. Look
Thank you
forward to
very
having
much.
you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, cable television license renewal, public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to go into the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
All right, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor? Selectman Shortall?
Yes.
Selectman Needham?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Nyman?
Yes.
And myself. Okay. In the public hearing, Verizon New England Incorporated per 207 CMR 3.05.
Mike, can I do a quick intro before we turn it
sure
over to
can.
Chris? Great. So we're here for the, one of the town's 2 cable television licenses, and just for the public's benefit, because there's often confusion about what the town's authority is. The town does not get to approve the rates. The rates that people pay is completely outside of our control, so I just want to make sure the public understands that the prices that the Verizon or Comcast charge The town, cities and towns like Rockland have no control over that. That's federal law. We're only dealing with the Verizon contract tonight. We'll be dealing with the Comcast license probably a year or so from now. We do have attorney Chris Kenny here, so I'll turn it over to him in just a minute. But I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the big items, because there's really only a few items that municipalities are concerned with. There's the revenues that we generate, which is a percentage of gross revenues. We've previously been at 5%, and we're going to continue at 5%. That's the max, so it's a good thing that that's where we're at. There's capital payments, which is really important for WRPS, and I should have highlighted earlier that Lisa's here from WRPS. They're our cable access provider. They're part of the Rockland School Department. This also includes $80,000 in total over the life of the contract for capital. Really importantly, we're getting a new HD local government channel. So currently the 3 PEG channels, public education, government, are all standard definition. Chris was able to negotiate a high definition channel, which will be fabulous. And there's a 5-year term for this contract. Often they're 10 years. In this case, Verizon only wants to do 5, which is okay. But the last main thing I wanted to say, and then I'll turn it over to Chris, is I've done a couple of these before in my prior town, and it was always done in a more formal process. So this was my first time I've been able to work with a firm like Clifford and Kenny, where there's a formal process, we are having a public hearing, that right is there, but yet Chris has the relationships with the folks on the other side and the cable companies who are able to, and the law allows informal negotiations to happen. So this doesn't only save a lot of time, this has literally saved us tens of thousands of dollars of legal expenses by having this more informal process, because again, there's only a few items really that are important to communities, and there are other firms out there that will kind of drag the process on into a more adversarial, costly, billable hour scenario, and we're fortunate to have great counsel that was able to negotiate something very effectively informally. So maybe with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Thank you. And Mr. Lapp really explained it well. So yeah, it's really under state and federal law, cable companies need to get a license from towns and cities to operate. So currently there are, you have Verizon and Comcast are both currently licensed. Verizon's license is expiring in next month, and as Mr. Lapp said, Comcast is coming up in I think the next year or two. So, yeah, as Mr. Lapp said, a lot of this is, a lot of the language is typically like boilerplate language that isn't really negotiable. But some of the key areas that are, Mr. Lapp already kind of spoke about. Obviously, one of the big areas is for funds for PEG for the local access. So, as Mr. Lapp said, you guys, the town was already at 5%. We'd stay at the 5%. There's also capital grant money for PEG grant money. We had met during the process. I met with Mr. Lapp, but also with Mr. Dave Murphy from the radio station, and we've been meeting over the past year, kind of talking about what kind of needs they had for potential capital improvements, and there's certainly a number of those that they were looking for. I think the current license, Verizon license, is like a 15-year license. When you get the initial license can be up to a 15-year, and then the renewals are capped at 10 years. And as Mr. Lapp said, Verizon, they only want to do a 5-year, which I expected. We've negotiated these in a number of other towns. I think Verizon is just kind of looking at the cable business like potentially ending soon, with now a lot of people are getting their streaming services and whatnot. I certainly think we'll be back in another 5 years, with another license renewal. But I think that's why pretty much they're saying, oh, we'll just do 5 years at a time. But the current license provides for about the equivalent of about $10,000 a year for the capital improvements. And I think, did you already mention that we got a little bit more? So we basically, over the 5-year license, we'll get about $80,000. It'll be $20,000. The first 4 years, we'll get $20,000 each year. So that'll help out with some of those capital improvements. But certainly, if anybody has any question or comments, I can certainly assist if anybody has anything.
Any questions or comments?
I would just like to thank you, Attorney Kenny, for helping as your firm has.
No, it's our pleasure. Certainly, we don't want to, we certainly, as Mr. Lapp said, it's you certainly want to be represented in the process, but again, both Verizon and Comcast kind of I've worked with these representatives before, and again, as Mr. Lapp said, you kind of still follow the formal timelines, but you can, in this process, we kind of basically work with Verizon's attorney beforehand, because just to kind of negotiate what we both sides think is a fair license, instead of them presenting a license and then we have to go, and then the board has to act and say no within 4 months and kick it back. So the kind of working with them ahead of time really is advantageous.
So the 5% revenue, where does that revenue money go?
So all the cable TV license revenue funds WRPS. So they're, I can't remember the exact accounting if it's in special revenue funds, but it does not get commingled with the general fund. It all goes directly to WRPS. There's one additional source of revenue. There's a 50-cent per subscriber annual payment that both companies make. And that does go to the general fund, but it's very small dollars. It's, whatever, $8,000 or something like that. I'd have to do the math. But the bulk of this, this is what funds our operations. And this is part of what we talked about with the prior petition article that was talking about televising more meetings, and we tried to explain that we're already at the cap of our operating revenue at that 5%. That's what we were referencing earlier at town meeting.
And that is within the license, and that's part of the law. Is basically within the license, all the law says, hey, this money basically it has to be used for cable-related purposes. So as long as you're using it for us, which the town is, you're using it for cable-related purposes. That's basically what it's for.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions during the public hearing? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Selectman Shortall?
Yes.
Selectman Needham?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Nyman?
Yes.
And myself. Public hearing is adjourned. Anybody have any comments or motions to be made? I'll entertain a motion to renew the license with Verizon New England Inc.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Selectman Shortall?
Yes.
Selectman Needham?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Nyman?
Yes.
And myself. All set?
Great.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, one-day liquor license request, Farmers Market. Mayflower Brewing Company for 910. And Buzzed Meadery LLC for 625, 79, 723, 86, 820, 910, 1018, 10:08, and 1022. Jean White, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
Very well.
I'm here on behalf of Allison tonight. She's taking a first aid CPR class, something that I have my staff do every year. So I'm here to talk. Mayflower Brewing, for those that don't know, is in Plymouth, and for which I'd never heard of. The second one, which is Buzz Meadery, they are actually out of Bridgewater, and that is mead is actually honey that is fermented much like wine, so it, hops and spices and I've actually had it. Didn't even know I had it, but it tastes pretty good. So they're both approving. They would both like approval for to come to the farmers market. Mayflower's coming once, and then you read Buzz Meadery, and then they're coming. Something different.
Okay.
But good, tasty.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Jean? Okay, if that's the case, then I'll entertain a motion to approve both, all licenses.
Great. Motion to approve the one-day liquor licenses for Mayflower Brewing Company and Buzzed Meadery LLC on the dates stated.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Doesn't have to be roll call, so we can just raise our hands. All right, that's unanimous. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you so much.
Next on the agenda, CDBG, single case waiver request, case number 18-252. Doug?
Sure. So you have a memo in your packet from Wayne Dara, who's our CDBG program director. And they're looking for a second waiver for this particular rehab case, and it's literally only $754 over the cap, and it's related to lead abatement and some electrical work, and it's no surprise, everything is costing a lot more now. But it's always, I'm trying to think of the right word, it's just impactful whenever I read these CDBG waiver requests, and I'm just so thankful that we have this program in this community to help people make these important life safety improvements to their homes. So we certainly recommend approval of this.
Entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the request for case number 18-252.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda, Council on Aging Director interviews. Okay, first up, Darlene Regan.
And
Darlene, come on
while
up.
Darlene's coming up, Mike, if I can, yeah, feel free, thank you. We did have 3 applicants that were scheduled to be here tonight. The last person listed on here, Mary Beth Lawton, has withdrawn. She's accepted a position in another community. So you'll be interviewing two folks tonight, and the first is Darlene. We, meaning the HR director, the assistant town administrator, and I, did interview both of these candidates internally, privately earlier, and have checked references, things like that. But at this point, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Darlene.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your interest in taking over for Peggy as the COA director in Rockland. You have mighty big shoes to fill, as Peggy did it for a number of years and really brought that program into the current state that it's in. I mean, at one point she operated out of an extremely small, older building that Jean's currently still operating out of. But now she's really turned that program, more than doubled it in size. So. Okay, back on track. In any case, Peggy did a great job for a number of years, so hopefully whoever takes over is able to carry on what Peggy had already began. So with that, would you briefly describe your professional work history and your education for us? And what special aspects of your education or training have prepared you for this job?
Actually, in 2000, I transitioned from the corporate world to gerontology, and seeing the need going forward as our aging population. I actually then jumped into volunteering with the SHINE program, which then led me to come to Rockland and work with Peggy at the volunteering for SHINE program, as well as Hanover, Halifax, Hanson, Pembroke. So it was a real eye-opener in terms of the process and municipalities and working at that level from corporate. So then I pursued that with education and furthered my interest with that in volunteering too, deeper into the SHINE program, mostly Mass Health. So I attended the Mass Health meetings for over 10 years. And became a SHINE counselor volunteering, only because of the fact that I brought a background in the healthcare industry. So when the ACA happened, the Affordable Care Act, in 2010, I was able to work with Old Colony Elder Services and be their go-to person in terms of the healthcare industry and qualifications for what would that person need in order to get the access to the proper benefits out there. Which then, of course, we know that with these types of services or benefits, that it opened the door for other services or other programs within the state and federal level. So that's where my area of expertise is in that. I've also went back to school for my master's degree as a healthcare advocate, only because of the fact that there was such a need for utilizing the various services out there. Programs such as the under the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, there's a number of different programs that we work as, the Council of Aging, the Aging Service Access Points, which is the Old Colony Elder Services, also the Independent Living Centers, which is in this area, I'm used to IA, Independent Associates. Working with that group to bring it to the community. So I became like a facilitator for that, not only for the healthcare industry, coordinating the coverages and so on so they could access these programs, but to help people get to real time, the real programs that are available to them. Sometimes people just don't know what's out there. So being able to advocate and get them to where they need to be is where the COA should, be helping people. So developing, I became a part of I was asked to come on board in Kingston, and then they developed into a full-time position there as an outreach coordinator. And I've, built a relationship with our state representatives, our senators. They know me, because if I see something that I think we should have, I pursue it. And so now I'm with Halifax, and I'm thankful because of the fact there is such a wonderful community in terms of the relationship with the people and bringing them to the resources that are available out there and developing that. So, so with that in mind, I decided that, it's Rockland. I've always had my eye on Rockland in terms of the other directors in Norwell and Hanover, and that relationship I've built with them over the years.
Okay, thank you. Kara?
What programs have you implemented or overseen that were most popular at either your current or previous place of employment?
Oh gosh, there's a lot. So over the years, as I said, I made the connections with various organizations. The Triad Group, bringing that to Kingston, creating a liaison program for police and fire, becoming part of a hub group for mental health issues. So these are the things that I've actually developed in Halifax as well. And right now I'm working on a program where I'm hoping that we can get, there's a certain section where there's 55 and older community where people have aged in place. Well, we all know that we don't age in place just by chance. So we have a community there that is in need of services. So I'm hoping that I can actually connect with Aging Service Access Point, which in that particular case is Old Colony Elder Services, to come out and have a caseworker once a month there, like I did in Kingston, and it worked very well. So being able to bring the programs such as a wellness program, we all want to have socialization or social groups, but now, of course, we're coming out of that pandemic. We still want to be mindful of that. But we also have to move on, we have to move forward. So, I've worked with, I've developed a kind of a little wellness program or social group where we have the Reiki and also Tai Chi and, a lot of the programs, Fit for You. Which is it's taught by a physical therapist. So a lot of licensed people. We have the Zumba Gold that we've developed that wasn't there before. So we're bringing in a newer and younger population. We offer. I actually wrote a grant. My favorite thing to do. I love money. I love to grab money when I can. So I wrote a grant for the love of art, and through the Mass Cultural Council, and was able to get some monies to support the arts in the town. So we are also offering a lot of outside activities. We have a gentleman coming in to sing Highwaymen group, and so it's a nice thing. I get everyone out of the house a little bit. Taking advantage of all the programs under the Massachusetts Council on Aging. They have a Beyonder program where the people that were not able to get out of their homes easily, and over the course of the cold weather and so on, we actually got to let them tour various countries. So we went to Japan and learned about the the cherry blossoms and the different types, and they can actually talk to the tour guide. So there's a lot of good things that we're trying to tap into the community itself. Not every community is the same. So, recognizing those needs was, so these are the type of programs I brought in, depending on the needs of that community.
Great, thank you.
In the role of director, you're responsible for preparing budgets and discussing the budget with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. In your current position, could you please describe your role in budget preparation?
Well, actually, it was just jumping on board when all that was just being prepared in Halifax. So I work closely with FinCom and also the Selectmen, BOS, and as well as the Treasurer's Office to go through the various changes that I needed to bring in terms of staffing. I also tapped into some of the programs, the Title V programs, where it brought in 19.5 hours and it was paid by a grant. So basically our budget was pretty slim, but working with all these other entities in terms of accessing funds, we're working on a building right now. And transitioning the monies over that was dedicated to a certain project, we made it happen. The town worked with us, and it was amazing. So, so that was, a real big, major part of what's going, the progress for the seniors going forward. I was able to reach out to our state representative, who actually was wonderful to present $50,000 to the center. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So. It was a good thing, a lot of
So
money
in
out
that
there.
case, you interact with the municipal officials, your boards and committees?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Donna? So if you were appointed to this position, describe your vision of the COA.
Well, I looked closely at all the activities here, and you have a really wonderful selection of everything. First and foremost, you have a wonderful building that can hold and maintain the programs. Bringing in the triad group here, the Attorney General's office, the District Attorney's office has been wonderful support to the communities. Bringing into it's actually also working with the fire department and the police. The senior population enjoy that interaction. So, but there is really nothing. I mean, in terms of going forward, there's programs that we could continue to tap into at the state level, and they're free. Free is for us. And they're wonderful programs there too. Yeah.
So in your review of the COA director job description, which functions represent your biggest strengths? And are there any aspects of the job that you have no experience with?
Pretty much, I'd say, we're always learning every day. I won't say I know everything, but I do say that I learn every day on every aspect of every budgeting, as well as the programs and what else is out there, because we are changing. Nothing stays the same, especially after our situation, the pandemic, but being able to recognize those programs that are and resources that are available out there is what's most important. So, so the other aspect was what.
Is there anything that you have no experience with?
Well, I've been around a while. And actually that was an interesting, just understanding the mass health part of it, just, the healthcare, as well as understanding the whole dynamics of coordinated care today, and that's so important. There's only one way. We're all aging, so, and that's a good thing. So I recognized that back in 2000, and I thought, you know what, if I can give to the community and show what I've learned over time, and it's either through just on hands or, firsthand, or just through my education, which seemed like I've been going to school forever. But, I want to do that to the community. The community I have a passion for, so.
Thank you. Kara?
Can you give a specific example of a time you had to deal with a staff issue and how you handled it?
Oh, every day there's something, but it's, you know, the thing is that we are, no one's going to always get along, and, or they may. So the thing is being able to handle the situation one-on-one with the individual and find out where that individual, why there's such a, maybe an issue. I'm always the type of person, approach the person first, let's talk it through. If there's offerings of, you know, support systems that are available, I would suggest that they may look at that. And also talk with the town administrator and let them know that, in fact, that there is an issue. So it's important that I have an open communication with the board, with my advisory board, as well as, you know, the selectmen and also the town administrator, of course.
How many employees do you currently oversee?
So right now, there's about four staff members that are full-time, and then the rest are all volunteer, which is awesome. Saves us a lot of money, and we are so thankful. So that's where, you know, that's where we are right now, where we have the option for expansion, hopefully, as the town is growing.
Customer service is very important to the Board of Selectmen. Can you highlight any times that you feel that you've gone above and beyond in terms of your work for the public?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, if anyone knows me, you can go through and find out that it's always been 110%. So I've been called a Florence Nightingale. I don't know if that's good or bad, but but I do make that effort to go forward to, I go with the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth says there's no wrong door. And I feel passionate about that. I know not everyone believes in it, but there is, and there is no wrong door approach. So if someone does come to the center in need of certain services, there is a way to find that resource. And being able to educate your staff to understand of the resources that are available is most important, because we're going to all work together to make sure that the people get to, or that person or individual gets to where they need to be. And we've done our job in terms of the support systems, but protecting the town as well in terms of what good resources are available under the umbrella of the state.
Thank you.
Donna?
If we were to call your previous employers, what would they say about you?
I would say that they would go 110%, almost too much. I don't know if that's good or bad, but everyone's like, why do you work 12 hours a day? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, you just do it. Okay? I don't think about it. So it is what it is. And yeah, so I guess it'd be 110% of what I do is always for passion. I'm passionate about my work.
Thank you.
So today seniors are living longer. It's creating greater demands on the COA and other age-related services. They're more healthy, active people who are looking to do things and go places to experience, you know, the joys of retirement. And likewise, there's a number of people who are dealing with age-related health and financial issues. As COA director, how would you propose to deal with this situation?
That's a very important aspect of this. And that was my main emphasis with the COAs over the last 5 years. Because over the last 5 years, the COAs are the front line to the community. Okay? So they are the facilitators. They are the ones that are going to set the direction. And they're getting more and more of different challenges, I should say, or different types of situations. So having that background, as I have developed over time, is able to direct people to the agencies that are available out there to the communities. Not to say that we're going to accept the responsibility of, you know, assuming all these different things. Getting a person to the right places is what's key. And that's what makes a person, you know, you got to have those credible resources available to you. If you're not aware of them, then you shouldn't be in this position. Okay, because they're out there at every level. And our state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, has been awesome about developing a lot of that. And the Executive Office of Elder Affairs as well. And it's just knowing those programs exist to get people to that level.
Thank you. Kara?
If you were offered this position, when would you be available to start?
Well, in terms of the Halifax, of course, the 2 weeks, I would also make sure that and work with them in terms of transition. Too bad I can't do two towns. Work, both, because they are a wonderful town. But it would be the 2 weeks, maybe 3, yeah. I'd like to transition.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And help them.
Tiffany?
As a director, you're pulled in many different directions during the day, whether it's managing programs, daily activities, deadlines, reports, grants, weekly payrolls. What do you do, or what would you do in terms of how do you prioritize your day, and how do you do so that you can efficiently get as much done as you can?
Well, understanding my staff is going to be real important to me, because I would be able to delegate some of that, certain things, which is nice. So I would utilize or see what's available. It depends on, certain towns are more, have a staffing, some of them have a lot of staff, and some of them have just a minimal skim staff, or staffs that maybe not really conducive to what they should be doing. So the thing is that I would delegate a lot too, but I also would make sure that there's a careful eye as to what I got to do. But I prioritize every day. Every day there's always something. And I could be jumping into outreach as well. So, and working to support the outreach is most important too. So supporting the staff in all these different issues is really key.
Dara?
So you're obviously interested in the position. How do you feel that this fits in with your overall career goals?
My overall career goals, well, that is just where I mean, this is my career. I've been in it for 10 years now, 11. So I made that commitment. I invested in my education, and I took out loans to do this. So this is my career, This is where I am. And, going forward to see what other resources at the state level to bring it to the town. So.
Okay, you mentioned that you have some experience writing and managing grants from start to finish. Any specific grants that you would highlight?
That I haven't?
That you would highlight?
Oh, actually, yes. So, of course, the Mass Cultural Council grant, the 2,800. I was able to write a grant for actually the Navigator program too. I was hoping that it came up. I always look at combis. There's a program for Shine program, which actually would bring the town, if you were to become a Shine district, you could actually access monies in $400,000, of monies to support the Shine program, and you become the regional office. So I've started to write that grant, and I'm in the middle of doing that. There's other grants out there that I'm actually tapping into to help support the community in which I am at right now, to see if we can get funding for the new building. Small grants, $500, through the Mass Cultural Council to do the Mass Walk. Yep, it does. And then being able to work with the state representatives is so important too, because they are there to support us. And so we were, like I said, I was there a couple months prior to, and I just said, what can we do here? And they saw the need, and they did have that line item in their legislative budget there, and created that line item, saw it, and grabbed it for us. So it was a great thing. So, but the grants, I'm in the middle of writing a lot right now for the town.
Very good. Kara?
What is your greatest professional work accomplishment?
I'd say probably being able to openly communicate, be transparent to the board, to work with the board, to work as a team. accomplishments, should you say?
Mhm.
And accomplishments I've always had, people come to me, actually follow me to my present position from Kingston to say, when you're coming back? Because I've created so much for them that there was hope. And to help people through all these different variables today is really where our community has to be. We have to be out there to support the seniors out there, a person with that's living with disabilities, and show them the directions, the veterans. These are important entities, and I've always accomplished that. Made connections with our local VSO. So network is most important, no matter what. That is key. And when you network and build that relationship, you're going to open up doors for your community.
Thank you.
Tiffany.
I've done that.
Is there anything else that we haven't asked that you would like to tell us?
Pretty much, I'd say, trying to, I guess, there's a lot of good questions, but pretty much that I identify the fact that there is a need for a COA that has to be progressive and that has to go forward with regard to the changes of what's happening in our community. So I guess, there aren't really any questions I can think of right now, but just to let you know that I'm a progressive thinker, and I don't know how to not be, because I know there's a way out of something. I guess it comes with the fit courses you take over time, when you're running through the mud and all that stuff, because you're going to get out of it. And it's a good thing. Challenges are good.
Donna?
Could you give us a brief explanation of what SHINE is?
Serving health and information needs of everyone. Of course, it used to be serving health and information needs of elders. In 2010, where the ACA changed, it actually changed the direction of that to open it up to the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Organizations and Affordable Care Act, for the applications for anybody under age 65. So the SHINE program had to change the direction of their the SHINE program itself, that is actually funded through the ACL at the federal level to the state. So there's funding that's coming into the state to provide the SHINE program. The Executive Office of Elder Affairs asks us, the COAs, to offer that as a service for Medicare. But with that extra piece of that, there is also the ACA stuff that is separate from the Medicare. And so it takes a lot for a SHINE program. They're working on that piece of it where they have to project for future, because people are retiring now, and Medicare is not for all. Sorry, don't tell Bernie Sanders I said that, but it isn't. But I do think that, the Medicare for All is a program that it's expensive today. So people are looking for options. They're looking for what other things are out there. So having that extra piece of understanding what Mass Health offers in terms of supporting certain things if people do not have that extra wraparound. Or some people can afford Medigap policies. So the SHINE program is a wonderful program, and it's expanding to offer more support services through Mass Health as well. Yeah, there's a lot to the SHINE program.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
Pretty much, I think we've covered a lot. I guess, having that every town does have a different approach to warrants and so on. So I guess I would have to understand how that approach would be. And, I know our town is a little bit different in terms of if I see that there's a need out there, what's the approach that I would have to go through the Board of Selectmen.
So typically, your first point of contact would be the town administrator.
Right.
You probably have a quick meeting with the town administrator, discuss your budget needs, he'd review it with you, and then you present to the finance committee, and well, he'd present it to us, we'd send it back down to the finance committee, then you would go to the finance committee, you present your case for any increases or whatever for each line item within your budget, and then it would go to town meeting. But really, the position, and Peg will attest to it, you work very closely with the assistant town administrator and the town administrator, and you know, it is a team here in Rockland, and you know, obviously the finance committee as well. So it's just, to your point, you said communication was very important to you, and in this position, communication will be vital to the success, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty much, you know, my question I had.
Okay.
So what other?
Thank you, Darlene, we
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Okay,
And we
thank
got
you.
one more interview to do. And
Okay,
we'll let you guys
wonderful.
know. Thank you much,
Okay,
appreciate your
thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Please, thank you.
Maybe, Mike, I'll just say for the public's benefit, you know, we try not to have applicants be in the room when their competitors are interviewing, so we have a whole system down. So.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Hi.
Stacy, come on up. Stacy, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
Doing well. So we just interviewed our first candidate, and you know, typically the rules when we do any public interviews are that you ask the same questions to each candidate. So all the questions that prior candidate, all the questions that you'll be asked have already been asked of the prior candidate. Okay.
Okay.
So would you briefly describe your professional work history and education for us, and what special aspects of your education or training have prepared you for this job?
Okay. Well, I have not had any college background. I have taken some college courses in accounting. Back in the 90s, I worked for South Boston Savings Bank for about 10 years. I was the assistant to the director of operations. So in her absence, I would help out resuming her role at that time. Unfortunately, Bank of Boston bought us out, so I ventured on, and I met my husband, who had his own construction business. I helped him pretty much with everything, running the business with vendors, subcontractors, ordering supplies, homeowners, right on down the line. And then unfortunately, ran into some health issues with a couple of family members, my mom and his dad, and it opened up my eyes to a whole nother world, because all of a sudden I was their advocate. And not knowing the resources that are available out there for people, seniors, I got involved, and I wanted to educate myself and move forward with that. So I ended up speaking with an outreach coordinator in Bridgewater, where I live, to help out my mom and my father-in-law. And we went from there. I started delivering Meals on Wheels. I helped out in the office as a volunteer, doing various tasks. It was back in the 2000s, so the budget had been cut, and it was just the outreach
coordinator as well as the director. All the other employees were let go with the budget cuts. So with that, I ended up volunteering, doing volunteer coordination, helping out with the Meals on Wheels program, and then eventually got hired as the nutrition coordinator. With that, that was a title that I was given, and just wherever was needed, I fit in. I pretty much assisted the director and the outreach coordinator as the senior center got rebuilt, brought back programs, volunteering. We had a lot of volunteers in Bridgewater, over 100 at that time, just doing various community outreach, pretty much. And I worked along with the Bridgewater Fire Department for a while with their Senior Safety First program. Went to the conference that year. I assisted the fire department. They went in and put in smoke detectors, CO2 detectors. I would go in and look for other faulty things that might be in a person's home. One woman, unfortunately, her basement stairs were hanging by 2 nails, and she had a leak in her oil tank. So I had gone back to the office, worked along with the outreach coordinator, and we got her new stairs built, her oil tank fixed. And then, unfortunately, because of budget issues, I did start looking elsewhere. I was in Bridgewater, I'd say 7, 8 years, and I found the position in Rockland. What I didn't realize at that time when I started is how much I was really going to love the community and love where I was at. Great bunch of people, inside and out, and here I am today. I have educated myself in other ways. I listen, I educate myself with trainings, I read, I watch, listen, and learn, and I've gathered a whirlwind of information, gather for resources. Again, it's for the individual, the family, the friends, neighbors, whoever, and again, the community. Now, to be the director, reaching out, knowing from small to the state level, grants, federal grants that are out there. Yeah.
Thank you. Kara.
What programs have you implemented or overseen that were most popular either at your current place of employment or previous place of employment?
Well, the lunch program and also Meals on Wheels. Events. In Bridgewater, we would hold anywhere from 100 to 150 people over. I would oversee the volunteers. We had, in the beginning, we had a group of maybe 4 or 5 women that unfortunately had gotten sick and passed away. I had to rebuild that program and got new volunteers in, and we would have great big events. Also, overseeing the Meals on Wheels program, the volunteers, anywhere, paperwork, handling the money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tiffany.
Thank you.
Hello. Customer service is very important to the Board of Selectmen. Can you please discuss what it means to you and provide examples of where you feel you've actually gone above and beyond to accomplish your goals in working for the public?
It is very important. And everybody that comes in is their own individual. Everybody has a different need. And it can be the low-income person that needs fuel assistance, or SNAP, Mass Health, or a low-income person that doesn't qualify for Mass Health, and knowing what's next best for them. Again, everybody's their own individual. I put my best foot forward with everybody that comes to me. And it's not just about the person. I have social workers calling me. I have attorneys calling me. People who are homeless. And again, it's about finding the best resources and giving that best customer service.
Thank you.
Donna?
How does this position fit with your overall career goals?
It fits wonderfully because I would like to do a little bit of everything for whoever, in whatever that need might be. I do have the background, financial background, in running a business, as well as caring and having compassion for the residents.
Thank you.
In your review of the COA director job description, which functions represent your biggest strengths, and are there any aspects of the job that you have no experience with?
I think one of my biggest strengths is recognizing a person's individual need, again, and listening. I'm a good listener. I think maybe one of my weaknesses would definitely be working on a budget. However, I have worked with budgets in the past, not for the Council on Aging, of course, but working with my ex-husband's business, as well as being a single mom and owning a home. It brings it right back down to that level. I feel paperwork is a strength for me. Math has always been a strength for me. I don't see a problem moving forward.
Thank you very much. Kara?
What is your greatest professional work accomplishment?
There's quite a few. Every day, just being able to help that person is an accomplishment. And I think if you put everybody together, that's what makes me happy and feel accomplished.
Thank you.
Tiffany?
In your role of director, you're responsible for preparing budgets and discussing the budget with the Finance Committee and/or the Board of Selectmen. In your current position, please describe your role in budget preparation, and then what experiences do you have in interacting with municipal officials, boards, committees, or the Finance Committee, and are you comfortable speaking in front of large groups?
I would be fine with that. Unfortunately, I don't have any experience in front of a finance committee. However, I do sit on the Bridgewater Housing Authority Board, as well as the Community Preservation Committee. I look at financials all the time. We do have open meetings and forums. I would not have a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna?
If you were appointed to this position, describe your vision of the COA.
We all know it's a wonderful place, and it has an amazing existing foundation. What I would like to see, more grants to be put into place, to be utilized properly, efficiently, in bringing some educational programs into intergenerational programs, work along with the schools, the library. The library does have a program now with us. They have the book club, but also Cheryl Murphy she's been coming in once a month. So I do have that interaction with the library already.
So you mentioned grants. What experience do you have in writing and managing grants?
I do not have experience because unfortunately my position did not warrant that. I did take a grant writing class, so I know how to do it. I know how it's done.
And who did you take that with?
Massasoit. Yes.
Kara?
Can you give a specific example of a time you had to deal with a staff issue? And how you maybe handled it?
I don't think I've ever ran into a bad situation with a staff member. I've pretty much gotten along with all staff, my whole work experience. There's been a couple of difficult times facing a resident or what have you. You have all different types of personalities.
Tiffany?
As a director, you're pulled in many different directions each day, whether it's managing programs, daily visitors, all while having deadlines, year-end reports, grants, weekly payroll. Can you describe the techniques that you would use to prioritize your day and how you would interact with others under that pressure?
Kind of do it now on a different level, always being pulled and tugged in different directions. You do have to prioritize. It's about knowing what is most important for that day. And I do work under pressure. We all do at times. And you, again, putting best foot forward and knowing what comes first.
Thank you.
Donna?
If we were to call your previous employers, what would they say about you?
I have a great work ethic in that I get along with everyone. I always want to jump in and join in and work together as a team. My ex-husband might have something else to say, but
We wouldn't call him.
you could though.
Well, she
You
worked
could.
She worked for him,
Well, that's
so-
true.
Yeah,
so-
absolutely. No, you could.
Thank you.
Thanks. Today, seniors are living longer. This is creating greater demands on the COA and other age-related services. They're more healthy, active people who want to go places, do things, and experience the joys of retirement. Likewise, the number of people who are dealing with age-related health and financial issues has also increased. As a COA director, how would you propose to deal with this situation?
The best way you can. Again, everybody's their own individual. You want to do the best that you can for them. We have awesome exercise programs. The seniors are active. Again, educational programs, letting people know, marketing, letting people know that there is help available for them, letting them know the resources, that we have the education to bring those resources forward.
Okay, thank you. Kara?
How many employees have you been responsible for overseeing?
Employees, there were 5 back at the bank. I did, at my first interview, I did bring up Kentucky Fried Chicken. Back when I was 17, 18, I was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was thrown into a manager situation. I did all of the hiring. I oversaw probably, I want to say about 12 to 15 employees, and we ran that place from opening to close, and it worked. As far as other, it would be volunteers. Right now at the COA, we have about 25 Meals on Wheels volunteers, as well as Bridgewater. Like I said, we had over 100. So I know they're not employees, but they do need direction and training. I helped train, I had numerous trainings in Bridgewater.
If you were offered this position, when would you be available to start?
Well, I would have to run it by the town that I work for, but I would say 2 weeks.
Okay.
Tiffany?
Can you tell us anything that we haven't discussed already that you would like to bring up about you that would aid us in making this decision?
I think I would just like to emphasize on my care and concern, my compassion for the people of Rockland. I want to be the best for them. We can't please everyone all the time, but I would like to do the best possible and bring in those grants and make more programs for the people.
Donna?
How familiar are you with the SHINE program, and have you worked with any aspects of it?
I have been SHINE coordinator for 2 years here for Rockland. I know every aspect. I just took the recertification. I know the ins and outs of Medicare and health insurance and the income guidelines, what people qualify for and what they don't qualify for. It stinks when you have somebody that is just that $15 over the guideline, and you have to say, wow, I'm really sorry. We can't help you. But we do find the best prescription drug plans. If a person can afford the Cadillac of Cadillacs of insurance, we'll look into other avenues, Medicare Advantage plans that are low cost. And give the best information for that person.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions for us?
I do not.
Okay. All right, Stacy. So with that, I think we're all set with the interview. And,
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
opportunity.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for your interest. Okay, I'll I'll open it up to comments or questions from the members of the board. Anybody have any thoughts or opinions?
Well, I want to thank both candidates for coming forward tonight and interviewing with us. I think they're two great candidates, two strong candidates. It's going to be a tough decision. At this point, I think I would recommend Darlene for the position of COA director, just based on her past positions within different municipalities. She seems to be in more management roles in those municipalities. So I think that's the direction I'm heading in right now. She has a lot of experience with grant writing, budget preparation, which I think is key to this position as a director within the town of Rockland.
Anybody else? Have any thoughts?
I also appreciate both coming in, and I do appreciate the passion that each has for their position and working with seniors. That was evident. I do agree with Kara in terms of the overall authoritative managerial role. I feel that the first candidate, Darlene, had more experience with that, and so with that, I feel maybe a stronger candidate for the position that we're interviewing right now. But I do appreciate each participating today.
Thank you, Tiffany. Donna, any thoughts?
I also appreciate both candidates. I think that they bring a little different to the table. But I think that Darlene seems to have had more experience, and I think that she's a little stronger candidate.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of find myself in the same situation. I think, Stacy obviously has been in this position for a couple of years, and I think she's still learning. I think Darlene comes to us having had the experience of being in that lead position in the past, and I think that's vital, so that it's not as much of a learning curve. So yeah, I tend to agree. I think we seem to have a consensus. So, Doug, if you have any comments, you obviously interviewed both candidates as well.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And I think we actually had pretty similar observations. They both, as Donna said, kind of come with from a different background and have some different experiences. But we were very impressed with Darlene. She has a fabulous reputation in the COA director world. We have checked background and references, and they were all very good for her, which is not to say that they weren't for anyone else, but I was just happened to be focused on her. So yeah, in general, we would be comfortable working with her. We think she has the right education and the background, and could be a good fit.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. All right. I think we've kind of reached consensus on a candidate to take over for Peg. If somebody wants to make a motion, I'll entertain the motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Darlene Regan as the COA director for the town of Rockland.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Show of hands. It's unanimous. Okay. Before we move on, I just, Peggy, in the back of the room, this might be your last chance in front of us. Say what you want to say. The mic is yours.
It's been very bittersweet for me. You know that the council and the seniors have been my heart and soul for the last 20 years. I started off doing different things in the council and worked my way into the position, and it's just, like I said, it's just my heart and soul. It's going to be very hard for me to hand the keys over the very last day and walk out the door, but I think that the decision is wonderful. I think that Darlene will do a great job for the town, the seniors, the community, and all. So, but thank you so much for your support. I mean, I've had support with the town administrators, the finance committee. Everyone's been so great to me, and I thank you for trusting me with everyone.
Peggy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.
We certainly appreciate all the work you've done down there. Okay. So, Doug, obviously we've reached a consensus vote, so you guys can enter into offer her the position, not contract negotiations, because we got rid of those. So yes, absolutely. So, okay, moving on.
Can I just, my last comment too would just be to similarly thank Peggy, because as all the applicants have stated, it's a well-oiled machine. We have a really fantastic senior center, and I know there's a lot of people that work on it, but that's been Peggy's leadership for 20 years, and you can tell by her emotion right now how passionate she is about what she does, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And there'll be more goodbyes and thank yous to come.
And to add on to that, she's correct. I did not do the things that I have done without the great staff behind me. So that is huge. And I mean, really, I could not do half the things that I've done without having my staff, and they've been good to me. So
thank you. Thanks, Peggy. Okay, next on the agenda, other new business not reasonably anticipated.
I have none.
Okay, next, old business, other old business not reasonably anticipated.
I have none.
You have none. Number 6, town administrators report and correspondence. Doug.
Thanks, Mike. I have a few things to mention tonight. The first was just that last week was a busy week. A few of us, Lori and Tiffany and I, attended the Bay Copy 50th anniversary celebration with the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, Senator Keenan, Rep. DeCoste, And it was really great to be able to help honor a local multi-generational business that's been in town for 50 years. And it was amazing to see employees that have worked there for 20, 30, 35 years. It was really a testament to that organization, so it was nice to be a part of that, representing the town. I also attended the Rockland Pride meeting that was last Thursday. They went before the board previously. It's a private group, but it was a very impressive meeting, and there's clearly a lot of community support for them. And then, of course, Rockland Day, which we've already spoken a bit about, and I'm sure some of you will have more discussions under your comments. But I was just blown away, again, with Rockland Day, with the whole community support, all the volunteers, how many town employees were out there volunteering. It was just wonderful, and happy to attend. Next, on the police chief hiring process, as we all know, the chief is retiring in September. There was an assessment center that is now complete. There are 3 candidates that have completed the assessment center. So in talking with Mike offline, our tentative plan is that I'll conduct interviews in private with those 3 candidates with the HR director and the assistant town administrator. So we'll be able to have some private, frank conversations and have some really in-depth conversations on things that I think might lend itself better to a private setting. Then the plan would be to have all 3 of those candidates come before you in the public setting in a live, televised, recorded interview, as we've done in the past. And then you can, once that's done, you can take the assessment center scores, you can take the input I have from my interviews, and then your own interviews, and then you can make your decision then. So again, the plan would be my interview sometime in July, then your interview in the August meeting, which is August 9th. Next, I wanted to mention, and obviously if you have any questions or comments,
I'd
let me know.
also just like to say with the other members of the board that, obviously Chief Llewellyn has done a great job down there at the police station, and I think it's important that each one of us try to set aside some time after the candidates have been identified as part of our process to listen to, have a conversation with the chief and find out what his thoughts and strengths and weaknesses of each candidate might be as well. So.
Great. Next, I just wanted to remind the board that the authorization that the state has provided for continued remote meetings is currently set to expire on July 15th. So obviously we're here in person. It doesn't really affect us tonight, but there still are some boards and committees that are meeting remotely. So it's currently set to expire on July 15th. There is legislation pending. It's Senate Bill 2915, which is proposing to extend that temporary authorization through December 15th, 2023. So the Mass Municipal Association is strongly supporting that. And as the board knows, I sent a pretty detailed email note to Rep. DeCoste and Senator Keenan, urging them not just to extend it through December 23, but just simply make it permanent. And I laid out what I think are a lot of good reasons for why just a simple, permanent authorization of what we're doing now makes the most sense. And I really hope that they don't make it more complicated and impose any unfunded mandates on communities to force hybrid kind of settings that we don't have the money, the staff, or the expertise to really properly do. All they need to do is just make what we're doing now permanent. And as a testament to tonight, many boards like your board will probably continue to meet in person, but it gives you the flexibility if you need it to meet remotely. So.
But the legislature never complicates things.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Right. So more to come on that. Obviously, before July 15th, they need to make a decision. Next, I just wanted to highlight that the newsletter that Assistant Town Administrator Jen Constable is in spearheading with our consultant. The next newsletter is set to be released soon in the coming week or two. Next, Chief Duffy gave me some good news. We've been planning on this, so it's really good news that we were awarded the FY23 State 911 Regional Dispatch Grant. So our regional dispatch costs will be funded again from that grant, over $327,000. So it's fantastic. This is, I believe, our 3rd year of that grant. FY23 will be the 3rd year of the grant. So going forward after that in FY24, we'll have to make sure that we fund 50% of that amount. The following year, FY25, it'll go down to 25%. The state's covering 50, then the state will cover 25%, and then the state will cover 0% after that. But we're good to go for FY23, so that's consistent with our budget. Next, I wanted to mention that there was an unexpected resignation. The chair of the Board of Health abruptly resigned recently. So there'll need to be a joint meeting sometime in the near future with the Board of Selectmen and the existing members of the Board of Health to name an appointment to fill that vacancy until the next town election. So I've had some discussions with the chair of the Board of Health. I imagine that she'll be speaking with Mike, and then ultimately, generally, the way history has worked is that board would make a recommendation to the selectmen, you'd have a joint meeting and you'd vote on it. It doesn't have to go that way, but traditionally the selectmen, and Mike, please correct me if I'm wrong, traditionally you tend to give deference to the board that has the vacancy, but ultimately it's a joint vote of both boards. So if you're fully seated, it would be 5 of you and 2 of them, so you obviously have a clear majority in that decision.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, obviously, if they have a consensus, then I think it makes sense for us to go along with a consensus, but if they seem to be split on candidates, if there's multiple candidates, then obviously it becomes up to us to decide who we think is the best candidate for the position.
So more info to come on that in the near future. 2 items left. The next is the HR director, the assistant town administrator, and I have been working hard on putting together a job description for the new town planner position that we're going to shortly be advertising for. So we have a draft of that done, and as part of our effort to make sure we're really engaging everyone that's going to be involved with this position, we have a meeting set up this week with the chair of the zoning board, the planning board, and the conservation commission, all the 3 regulatory boards, because they're all going to have, to differing degrees, a lot of interaction with the town planner. So I want to make sure that we capture all of their needs and that we don't miss anything. So I'm excited to have that meeting. The plan is we'll present our draft document to them, get their feedback, just have a working meeting to discuss how we think the position is going to work, what their focus of their duties will be. It's kind of clear cut as far as what a planner does, but there's always nuances in every town, and Rockland's obviously existed for quite a while without one, so different processes have kind of organically popped up, and we need to figure out what's best to keep if it's not broken, and what's best that we can help supplement and take us to the next level. So I'll have more to report out on that in the future once we start advertising for the position. And then lastly, I was on in a meeting today with the assistant town administrator, the town accountant, and auditors that were hired by Plymouth County to advise and provide technical assistance to the county as they administer the ARPA program. So since we're getting a significant amount of funds from the county through ARPA, they wanted to have what they call a risk assessment meeting, where they basically asked us how we handle all different facets of managing grants, internal controls. They asked a lot about ethics and procurement, all that kind of stuff. And I'm pleased to say we more than satisfactorily answered all of their questions. I feel like we checked every box that they had, and they had no concerns, and I believe we're in good shape. And that's all I have tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Doug. Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Selectman Shoyle.
I once again would like to thank everyone who participated in Rockland Day. I think it's a great thing that this town does, and I'm sorry I couldn't have been there, but I look forward to coming again in the future.
Thank you, Donna. Selectman Needham.
I would also like to, one more time, thank all of the organizers of Rockland Day. It was spectacular, and it just says so much about our town to see everyone come together for the overall enjoyment of the town. It's just wonderful, and at a time when the world's divided and it can be a hard place just to live in general. The world's been tough the last couple of years. Entertainment is a beautiful bridge that is so helpful to so many people. So to see the joy in our town come together was powerful, and it's so important. So I'm thankful for that. I also wanted to thank Interim Director Dave Taylor. I enjoyed it, and I went with Selectwoman Childs about a week and a half ago, and we had a tour of the wastewater treatment facility, and that was very that it was very eye-opening for me. It was the first time that I was able to do that and to learn firsthand the challenges as well as the attributes of our facility. I also enjoyed going to the community meeting at the fire station where we learned about, the basically process that they would undergo to obtain a new building, but at the same time, it was a meeting with the abutters, and just basically every step of the way, it will. The goal of the chief is to provide that important information. So I enjoyed that as well. So it's been a great 2 weeks.
Thank you, Tiffany. Vice Chairman Nyman.
I will join my colleagues and again say thank you to all of those who made Rockland Day a great success.
Thank you, Kara. So you guys didn't really leave a lot left for me to talk about as it pertains to Rockland Day, but you guys all touched on it. It was a great success. It was a great day for the town. It's one of our signature days. Obviously with the holiday stroll and Fall Fest last year, and Rockland Day is right up there with those two events. And I just ask everybody to continue to go to the farmers markets every other week when they're being held. You'll see a lot of some of the stuff that you saw at Rockland Day, and new and different vendors and beer gardens each week, and more community spirit being celebrated. So that's always a good thing. I just want to touch upon something that we did earlier tonight, which is adjusting the budget to make room for the SRO position within the school. There's oftentimes that we do things that don't seem very significant, but making that vote tonight has potential to be very impactful and to save lives. So, I just applaud each one of you guys for taking the vote that you guys took tonight. And I think it's something that is definitely needed, and I think it'll be something that will benefit the kids, and the students, and faculty in Rockland for a long time to come. So, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and enter executive session for the review and approval of executive session minutes for 4/19/2022 and 6/7/2022.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Selectwoman Short.
I agree.
Selectwoman Needham.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nyman.
Yes.
And myself. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye to Pam.